It is our favorite goth baddie. And this is now going to be a 30-minute episode of just giving you a link to her new redesign image, and we're just going to stare at it for 30 minutes in complete silence.
It's insane. I know we keep saying it. It's so good. Like,
I'm
looking for the person when Welcome to Noxus comes out that's like, oh, I'm not into the redesign. I'm looking for that message because it has to be a bot. There's no way.
Yeah, we already know it's going to be a filthy bot. And we as a community have a responsibility, a duty to chase it out of our community.
Welcome to Casuals of Runeterra, episode 175. I'm your host, Ryan, here with the other host, Hetch.
Well, it's fun to be that close to 200. Like, that feels good. I'm excited for 200, but I'm excited for this episode, too.
Yeah, I mean, listeners, like, if you're an OG, think about it. You've been listening for 5 years. That's crazy.
It's still kind of crazy to think that it has. I was telling my mom about, it's like, oh, getting ready to record tonight. And it's like, oh, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, my show, with my friend Ryan. We've only done it for 5 years.
That means if you started listening in middle school, you're going to college or you're in college.
Don't make me feel that old. I don't need that. I don't need that. I had less gray hair when I started this show.
That means for 5 years you've been listening to housekeeping.
And it's always up top, baby.
It's always at the top. You can listen to us everywhere. Visit us at podcastcore.com for all of our info. Email us at podcastcore@gmail.com for getting in contact with us. It feels weird now because I said we've been saying it for 5 years, and now I'm like, why am I repeating myself?
I just like how we just were patting ourselves on the back for having the show for 5 years, and then you immediately are just like, I've never done this before.
This is my first time. All right, follow us on all platforms because that helps with discoverability. We don't have sponsors yet. We don't have money. We don't have anything. We're at rock bottom. So just give us a follow, damn it. And leave a like and comment wherever you listen the most. But as always, word of mouth has got us this far. So tell a friend to become the blueprint by listening to the Casuals of Runeterra podcast.
Yeah, and as far as when it comes to League of Legends, if there is anyone in this universe that has a blueprint of everything that's going on across all of Runeterra, you already know who it is. It is our favorite goth baddie. And this is now going to be a 30-minute episode of just giving you a link to her new redesign image, and we're just going to stare at it for 30 minutes in complete silence.
It's insane. I know we keep saying it. It's so good. Like, I'm looking for the person when Welcome to Noxus comes out that's like, oh, I'm not into the redesign. I'm looking for that message because it has to be a bot. There's no way.
Yeah, we already know it's going to be a filthy bot. And we as a community have a responsibility, a duty to chase it out of our community.
All right, all good stories told in 3 parts. But before we start that, this is by LJ Goulding, Laurie Goulding, who's provided us with many great stories. This one is no exception. This one is very fun. This one also proves a point. If you've listened to our last episode, a lackluster story, we made it very known, and we talked a bit more about the concepts of like how we look at stories in general and how we rank them, and why we thought it was bad, right? It's one thing to have an opinion. It's another thing to be able to back that opinion up, right? And it's crazy because we didn't plan this, but this story is an example of the opposite, right? Of that same style being used properly for a character where it thematically fits.
Yeah,
which
and
is Leblanc.
as far as if you want to hear us talk about a story that we did not enjoy that much, and like we are giving some criticisms too, please check out our Yunara episode. Like, spoilers if you haven't listened to that episode, it is it could have been handled better.
Yeah. She'll get her flowers at some point.
Hey, at least she's a great looking character. She
Yeah.
looks like a lot of fun, both in the game as well as just overall design. But that's about where all of the positive words for her bio go.
All right, let's hop into it. Part 1. We start with Darius sitting extremely close to a roaring hearth, and he's in immense pain, although he's not really showing it. He sustained a true ice injury to his arm, which we've seen happen in a cinematic before. Wink, wink, nod, nod. And it's impressive to everyone that he doesn't scream in pain, but the healers around him pretty much believe he's going to lose this arm.
And it's really awesome to see like a direct call out to one of the most well received as well as just widely received cinematics that League of Legends has ever released.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the Welcome to Noxus cinematic, it is absolutely worth because it's only about like what 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it's worth every minute and only makes us more excited for the next installment of Arcane. The nice part, though, as far as with having the story, is getting to see the aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to know not only that Darius is a badass, but even though he's not screaming in pain, it is noted that he is cussing everyone out. And it's like, okay, cool. He's still human. But he's just a badass dude.
So with them in this, by this hearth is some Freljordian priest, because obviously they're from Noxus. And these priests have helped them navigate during their campaign against the Troll tribe as quote unquote guest of the Frostguard. But outside of that, they're not helping. They're not helping beyond that point. They're kind of staying focused on that. And the three of them are constantly taking glances at this situation and discussing what's going on amongst themselves, obviously in a different language.
Yeah, and it makes sense as far as having a guide at this point, but it is very interesting as far as that with this that they do have Freljordians working with them. So this must have been like a little incursion as far as just directly for the trolls.
Yep.
Because it's also noted that their armor that they're wearing does have battle scars on it. So these are seasoned veterans on top of being frost priests. So it gives us an interesting look at like the timeline as far as in Runeterra, because this very well, to me, it seems very likely that it's after a good bit of the wars that the Freljordians have already had with the Noxians, because it's like, okay, cool, like we have already been conquered by you, at least like this village. You want to go into the troll territory, I gotta eat, so pay me and I'll take you up there.
So the head frost priest of this group has one good eye, and he turns for a bit and he focuses that on a blade squire, and for a moment he kind of moves his hands and his fingers towards his axe, and the blade squire is looking back at them, signaling that, hey, with just their gaze, nothing weird is happening. And the priest narrows his eyes and then goes back to having a discussion with the group. And the squire decides at that moment to fake a chore. And they grab one of Darius's cups and goes to like fetch him water with no plan of returning. And then we got a quote here that says, "None will note the absence of a young blade squire or recall his name. Few will remember he was even here." And that's where part 1 ends.
And one of the comments that this blade squire has in their own inner monologue is that my lesser sisters may struggle to maintain illusion under such scrutiny. Yet to me, it is as simple as breathing. So this squire is not all that they seem to be on the surface.
Spoilers. This takes us to part 2 And we now have the speaker is looking for Lord Vladimir. And I don't know why I forgot his name for a minute. I was like, wait a minute. That's not, I won't get into why I made that mistake because that'll be a whole other podcast. But they're looking for Vladimir and they know he isn't fond of hanging out in the morning sunlight. Remember, he's a vampire, quote unquote, since those don't technically exist in this world. But they see him, and of course, he has his hood up and he's crossing a marketplace. And he's kind of keeping his eyes like darting around, but mainly on a tower near the Immortal Bastion Center. And his cheeks appear rosy, signaling that he had an eventful night at a salon of some noble house, whatever. He got around that night, he's well fed, and he's trying to get somewhere else. And now the question is, where?
And I love the inner monologue as far as for our little voyeur
Mhm.
here, because the inner monologue is really just kind of dragging Vladimir. Uh,
Yeah.
so uh, whoever we're following here, wink, wink, nod, nod, uh, like knows Vladimir pretty well,
Yeah.
because this is definitely like the rib jabbing of close acquaintances.
Yeah. So they begin to follow him, leaving a good distance between them and him. And every time he turns around, the pursuer tries to hide their face, right? Their stolen, quote unquote, face. And then they wonder where he's heading and who he's planning on meeting up with.
Yeah, and as far as with having like a stolen face, it to me it's very clear that we are now switching over to a George R. R. Martin podcast, and we have to talk about the face stealers. I which I'm not excited about this direction. I'm never a big Game of Thrones fan, but if we must, we must.
Yeah, so then we hop out of wherever Vladimir is, well, in Noxus, and we jump to bells ringing, signaling the occupation of Ionia is over by the order of the Grand General. And this speaker is cursing Jericho Swain and having the belief that they should have stopped him before he became a threat. And the speaker is now disguised as a grizzled officer as they head towards the Ocean Ward Keep.
And it like with this, like we have a lot of jumping so far
Yeah.
because we started off in the Freljord. We ended up like at the heart of Noxus as far as like having the Immortal Bastion in sight.
Mhm.
And as far as where we're at now is the island of Phalor, which
Mhm.
is the most western island of Ionia.
Yeah.
So we are jumping all over the place. And
I wonder
it's
why.
I wonder
Wink,
why.
wink, nod, nod.
And it's funny though because it's like we have a general cursing the name of Swain,
Yeah.
and that's definitely giving some all quiet on the Western Front vibes.
Yeah. So they start passing through the keep, and they pass gates and they salute some of the naval officers and recognize a captain of the Ember Drake, which is one of the major ships. And they turn the corner and immediately swap their disguise to look like that captain. And with this appearance they behave like they're forgetting errands, turn back around, and then she yells at some men, and they unlock the heavy doors leading to the lower vaults.
And it's really cool that we get to see a little bit of like how this illusions are working,
Mhm.
or at the very least at the speed at
Yeah,
which we
that's
can
the impressive
switch
part. Yeah.
between the illusions. Because I mean, this is like, you know, on the fly within like 3 seconds, convincing enough to be like, hey, I'm gonna throw you in the brig if you don't let me in. And no one even stops to be like, you were going that way
Yeah.
10 seconds ago.
'Cause everything's
Like,
moving so quickly. If we look at media that we have as far as great movie representations or film representations of this would be Mystique in the early X-Men films,
oh yeah.
because she had a lot of scenes, a lot of screen time showing her shifting as she was doing her espionage stuff. And that's the best relation I can think to what we're seeing on paper here. which, if you think back to it, it was very impressive then. And even the way this is being discussed, it's a very impressive skill that we'll talk about at the end, right? It's not just, yeah, you have the ability to change faces. It's easy street. There's more to it.
Absolutely.
So this disguised person then heads down, takes a left towards the dreaming pool. And in the tunnels, one of the sisters, not them, had killed a war mason with a dagger. And this sister, as they're approaching this other sister, starts tracing an arcane sigil in the air. And then the other sister responds, the one who killed the war mason, responds with the appropriate signal. And she approves and returns to the surface. And that's where part 2 ends.
Yeah, and this is where we get a bit more of the full espionage
Mhm.
vibes, right? Like it's like, no, give me the call sign, I give you the counter call sign, and if this requirement isn't met, we throw in hands,
Yeah.
like 100%. But it is nice to see as far as that, like out in the field, we are like this character, wink, wink, nod, nod. We have no idea who it is. They are directly working with the lesser sisters as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It
this
is
gives
not just a fascism.
Yeah, and this is something that we've seen in the 2 seasons of Arcane we got that showed us that, even though LeBlanc is a big bad, a very powerful whatever, there are gaps in the armor, right? And this is one of the gaps where it's not a omnipotence in its purest form. It's a scattered web that has to be tightly controlled. We'll talk more about that in general discussion, but this takes us to part 3. And now, inside the walled royal gardens of Demacia, they pretend to garden. And while they're doing so, the seneschal is passing back and forth, as you would know as Jin Zhao, and they watch as he goes through his daily routine. As he passes them, he smiles warmly, and then he pauses unexpectedly, leaving them on edge. He bends down, picks up a single seed, stares at it, slips it in his pocket, and continues on his way.
This part actually holds a lot of weight
Mhm.
to specifically the character Yunara. As far as with Yunara's release being coincided with the Spirit Blossom Festival, and if you've read the comic that comes out with Yunara, this seed does play a role in that story. Yunara's release was so all over the place that I'll be shocked if anyone outside of Ryan and I have
Yeah.
actually consumed that media. But it's really cool to see that that Laurie is taking the time to really tie this in together.
Yeah.
Like it makes the world of Runeterra feel a lot more cohesive with it.
Mhm. So we have start off with a quote here that says, "The chamber walls ripple with 1,000 glyphs, boiling and melting into one another." And here in her false empire, as we've seen many times at this point in different mediums, LeBlanc guides the path forward. There are many sisters in this countless nations and kingdoms who all believe that they are the one true LeBlanc as they carry out their own schemes. But no matter what they believe, LeBlanc is everywhere and LeBlanc is everyone. And that's how our story ends. So it leaves us off with the main LeBlanc that we have in our story as Welcome to Noxus is being promoted.
And it's fun as far as getting a little insight as far as how these little the lesser sisters
Mhm.
are, like how they came into the roles that they're playing,
Yeah.
because it's not just, a teamwork thing. Sure, they're using teamwork, but it wasn't because of teamwork that they're there. It wasn't because of direct control that they are working for LeBlanc. It's all ego.
Yeah.
Like, no, we need a leader. You can be that leader. And LeBlanc has said that hundreds of times. It's
Yeah.
just send everybody out while she's sitting back at the tower that has the eye of Sauron and just watching Oliver and Tara.
Yeah, it's one of those concepts, it's funny how LeBlanc as a character embodies so many concepts that I love so much. I mean, I think we've talked about it here in My Hero Academia, Twice as a character, how much I love how Twice is presented. And it's one of the best episodes in the anime version, where one of the big concepts is who's the original, right? Who's in control and what value do we all have? Who's lesser? Who's in charge? Like that's a concept when it comes to cloning abilities or abilities to disguise multiple persons. That's fun to play with thematically. So it's cool that that's here, and that's a major part of this. The other part is, as we mentioned, this is the perfect counterexample to the structure of the story that we complained about with Yunara. Is we're jumping around here just like that story, but in this one, it fits LeBlanc's character because of the power set, right? It
Right.
thematically fits, and also narratively, we care more about LeBlanc than we do Yunara. Yunara's a new character. LeBlanc's one of the OGs, or close to one of the OGs. So, and she's also had so much media to establish who she is and what her power set is. So when you give us a story like this, we're on board, and then it makes more sense.
Yeah, the other thing that this has going in its favor that Yunara is missing as far as with her bio is that this is a short story by LJ Goulding,
Yeah.
whereas Yunara's story is her bio
Yeah.
and it's jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't like if you do not know who LeBlanc is, you're not going to go and read everywhere and everyone first.
Yeah.
You're going to go to the League of Legends website, click on her bio and read that first.
Mhm.
And her bio's a lot clearer of like who is LeBlanc. And this just kind of fleshes out the details that the bio gives you. Yunara doesn't have that because she's brand new.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we have a story that's going all over the place. and and not just in multiple locations in Runeterra, in multiple realities.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's a lot. It's a lot. But the other thing, outside of that is that this is still a lot more cohesive than Yunara's story because we don't have any of the time skips too.
Yes. Exactly.
So like the fact that like we're not dealing with those time skips kind of makes this a little more grounded
Yeah.
and makes it a lot easier to go from one jump to the next.
Yeah, it has the illusion of being time skips because you're going to different places, but all the events are happening coinciding, right? So
Yeah, we're seeing it at the same time that LeBlanc is seeing it through the Palantir.
yeah, yeah, it's the webs of entities. And the last part here is this also displays. I brought up Mystique in the early X-Men movies for a reason, because that's such a big part of her power set is her ability to complete the espionage properly and consistently. That makes her such an asset to Magneto. It's not that she can disguise herself, because if you had Mystique's powers but you're an idiot, it's not gonna you can't really maximize your output, right? I mean, that's, bringing it back to My Hero Academia, that's the whole point, is you have one quirk. How good can you use that one quirk, right?
Yep.
And with Mystique, and here with LeBlanc, we're getting to see that LeBlanc has gotten to where she's at because of her ability just to consume so many details and bring on people who can also manage those details and communicate and convince via mimicking in every moment. Because, like, the example Hetch brought up was when we went to the captain, right? Oh, she sees the captain. She changes from the grizzled warrior, the grizzled soldier, to the captain, sees the man, shouts out a command, gets through the doors, sees the other person, does the command, the sigil, gets the appropriate one, goes back up, right, to probably change again. Like, those are split-second decisions that are happening without the world around them getting time to settle and be like, wait, something's up, which we start off the story with that as a thesis statement. Was this was a moment, everyone was at rest. The squire was just sitting there. And what happened? The priest started getting curious because he
Yep.
had time to analyze what was going on. And we're seeing that you can't give the world time, especially when you're dealing with other magical beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like to go back as far as with the Mystique comparison,
Mhm.
I really enjoy that comparison because one of the things that we see specifically in this short story
Yeah.
like looking through the lens of like Mystique versus LeBlanc, is LeBlanc doesn't get caught.
Yep.
And Mystique, there are good handful of
Yeah.
times in the movies, specifically the
Usually
movies, but
emotional related.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not only emotional related, but also just like, there were times where she was taking on the role of higher profile targets
Yeah. Yeah. True.
and maintaining that
Mhm.
role for a lot
Great
longer.
point. Great point.
And I've I think that really points to one big thing, which is the big question mark over LeBlanc as a character is who is the real LeBlanc and how long have they been there?
Yeah.
Because that LeBlanc at all times other than on the ship was taking the role of very minor characters who
Yeah.
would be easily forgotten.
Good point.
And anytime that LeBlanc was following someone who had the ability to see through the illusion, she played her cards very close to her chest.
Yeah.
And Mystique, for reasons, most of the time, reasons out of her control, had to play bigger roles,
Yeah.
right? But Mystique is also a young adult. Like that, it shows the level of, as far as like the experience that LeBlanc has over Mystique.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons that her character is so cool
Yep.
because that's terrifying. She could be legitimately everywhere and you will never know. Even if you have the ability to know, she knows that and she will play her cards close to the chest.
That's such a great point because it gives the or not the illusion, but it's almost fake it till you make it a couple 100 years, and then you're perceived as omnipotent or omnipresent, right? Because
Yeah,
we know
omnipresent.
because the narratives have shown us, hey, one key thing you know, LeBlanc is not omnipresent. We're making that clear to the readers, to the viewers, etc. So that being the weakness, the gap in the armor, does she overcome that? Well, with longevity. If she's able to do this long enough, well, people will die, people will forget, if you do enough minor characters for long enough, well, people will lose the fact that you ever existed. It's just like Mordekaiser, something she said in the trailers we've gotten that she played a part in that whole thing. So people have even forgotten what the Immortal Bastion is and what it means and how it got there. And that's what she wants, right? Because that establishes the lie more. So in my mind, the person came was like, yeah, she's faking it till she makes it long enough to where she's seen as an omnipresent being.
I mean, yeah, you could definitely argue it's fake it till you make it, but of course, the greatest illusionist in all of Runeterra is going to create the illusion of being omnipresent.
Yeah.
Like, it's child's play for her at this point. And it's also fun because it's like we know that she's been there all along because like she had to have been there all along to play a role in the Mordekaiser's downfall.
Yeah.
But is it still the same body? Is it still the same person? Or is this an idea that has gone from an individual to an individual? Or is it a more cabal thing where it's a ritualistic thing moving from a body to a body? Who knows? We don't know any of that. And I enjoy having that question because it just leaves a couple avenues available to you as far as expanding on this character.
Yeah.
Which is great to hear because we know from the cinematic of Welcome to Noxus, we're gonna have to learn more about LeBlanc.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to happen. So it's great that we have all of these questions still, despite, really fun stories like this one. We still need those questions because that leaves room for more content. And we're going to Noxus, baby. That content is right around the corner.
Yeah, I know. And we'll end it there. I know we took a little detail for Yunara's release, so we apologize. But we're back on the Noxus train. So keep an eye out on what we do next. But as always, this has been a quicker one than we thought. Standard length. But thanks for listening. And we'll be back soon with the next episode.
Yeah, take care, everybody.